warm welcome to today's discussion session of Talking Films Online. TFO was founded in June 2020 during the lockdown by Professor Nikhila and Dr. Geeta Vishwanath. Almost on a whim, it has grown from a spontaneous idea into a vibrant community of film enthusiasts, including scholars, researchers, students, teachers, and passionate lovers of cinema. Every Saturday at 9 p.m. on Zoom, we come together to discuss films from across the world. The format is quite simple yet effective. Someone from our group selects a film, we all watch it in our own time, and then meet to discuss. Over the years, we have also been joined by notable filmmakers, editors, and cinematographers, including Aparna Sen, Amol Palekar, Girish Kasaravalli, and Adur Gopalakrishnan. TFO's cinematic journey has witnessed films through various lenses. It includes hosting themed festivals on East European, Iranian, and women's cinema, among others. Every June, we host a smartphone short filmmaking contest for students and organize a lecture series in university departments to mark TFO's anniversary. Last September, we organized our first offline event, an international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, held in collaboration with FCT Baroda. Tonight's discussion will focus on director Billy Wilder's film, Some Like It Hot. The film was suggested by Tanmoy Goswami, who will also initiate the discussion today. Tanmoy Goswami is an electronics and instrumentation engineer turned television professional whose journey into cinema has been no less cinematic. Born in the early 90s into a Bengali family deeply rooted in Indian classical music and Bengali literature, Tanmoy's creative inclinations were nurtured from a young age. His early interest in painting and analog photography naturally evolved into a passion for creative writing during his college years, eventually leading him to mainstream filmmaking. With nearly 14 years of television experience, Tanmoy has worked with some of the most prestigious names, including Viacom 18, Disney Star, Z, and more. He has been involved in over 25 soap operas and 3,000 plus episodes, serving as a writer, director, and creative producer. He also briefly held a position of senior manager of station programming at Radio Mirchi. An MA in mass communication and journalism, Tanmoy has actively contributed to academia, mentoring aspiring filmmakers through hands-on workshops and innovative teaching methodologies. We are honored to have him with us today, and we look forward to an interesting and thought-provoking conversation tonight. Over to you, Tanmoy sir.
Well, thank you so much for this kind introduction. I'm just literally honored, and personally, I'm also talking to you after a long period of time, and probably everyone knows here. Most of them definitely know. Like I have taught you for a particular time back in 2023 in your UG level. The paper was documentary, so that's a very lovely reunion right after so many days, rather years. So thank you. Also, before getting into the subject and introducing the film, I just want to share why we particularly selected this film for the discussion, and why we are talking about today regarding Billy Wilder's film. Because nowadays we are now enjoying micro dramas, the coming of age content, which is basically short format of content. At the same time, the rise of OTT platforms gradually gives us that domain where we have that option to switch over to multiple content at the same time while we are liking it or not, depending on our personal preference and all. But once upon a time when there was no provision of watching cinema throughout internet, only the scope of observing or watching the cinema, more precisely experiencing the cinema in theater, and on those days were the slow burn content which basically made by some of the audio filmmakers. And today we are talking about Billy Wilder. So Billy Wilder is that name whom we can consider one of the godfathers of screenwriting. And since you said just a minute back, like I have been practicing screenwriting for a long time. So my primary goal and objective will be introspecting the film, Some Like It Hot, from the perspective of a screenwriter primarily, and to dissect the film from that lens. Because over the decades, this film has been analyzed from a different perspective based on some film theories, based on making of cinema impact on the cinegoers as well as the cine enthusiasts and cine scholars. So my perspective, I'm trying to have it in a little bit of different way, so as we can analyze a little bit of things which is not more discussed or less discussed in today's scenario. So before getting into that, I'm trying to share a content route map through which we will forward today's discussion to keep the track of this discussion in a specific manner. But it is not restricted in this content route map only. Rather, it is not like that to present a paper in a conference or a seminar. I would like to involve in this manner that the situation will be much more participatory as much as we progress. And definitely, I am here to learn from the others, from the joinees as well, from the different perspective. Only I am here to share my take on that film, which I thought that should be discussed, and looking forward to have another dimensions as well. So I'm sharing first of all the content map. So it is showing host disabled attendee screen sharing. So kindly give me that permission to share the screen first.
Rubaya, please allow screen share.
Yes, ma'am, I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the things before we can fix the screen sharing and all. First, what I like to share with you all, since we most of us definitely watch this film, not a single time, rather multiple times. I want to share a particular thing while observing a film. I'm just consciously using that term observing, not watching the film, since we all are nourishing cinema, cultivate cinema, and literally eat cinema. I want to say. So on that note, I particularly first come to the specific point of discussing the cinema or tagging it with a specific genre. Though sometimes it is not possible to tag a particular or specific term or genre to a film, but in terms of categorization or in terms of critically looking a film, sometimes needs that kind of box or reference scale to start the discussion. So while we generally start to watch this film, we will definitely we watch this situation and we will definitely accept this term that the film starts in a different note, like it is appearing like a gangster film, a chasing is going on, and the setting is little bit of different. It's like a mysterious environment, a silent street, and this kind of firing is going on. And when the entire activity is going on and it is like something will happen between the gangster and police, and some different take will be done, like the gangster or the mobsters will be caught. This kind of situation comes all of a sudden. We noticed already definitely that the particular both the cars just that came across in a lane where a shop is there, that is a funeral parlor. So on that note, we definitely feel intrigued, like what is this thing inside that, which kind of activities are going on. So in screenwriting, when we try to involve the audience or engross the audience in a particular manner, we all know there should be a plot device, or there should be a plot point through which maybe it might be visually, it might be through audio elements, it might be through some dialogues, or whatever the situation is. But here, the visually, this building appears, and all of a sudden, we feel like what is generally being happened inside this building. And when the police enters into the premise, we experience that the gambling, the boozing, everything is going on, and there is a sudden raid. And on that time, a performance is actually going on, and there is a like because of the sudden raid, particular two musicians, both of them are performing there for a long time. They are trying to escape the situation, and they are trying to find a route where they will go. So I believe
Tanmoy,
personally.
Tanmoy, sorry to interrupt you. I think now the screen share has been enabled. You should be able to
Okay.
share your
Yeah,
screen.
yeah. Thank you. Probably my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
So here we all see that I have divided the entire discussion in some chapters. I will try to cover each one, each and every one. So first we are talking about the introduction of film, so which we already discussed that the name of the film is Some Like It Hot, and which is directed by Billy Wilder. So I'm coming to the point of writing now, and here is the writer's name, Billy Wilder and I.L. Diamond. So while we are talking about this specific area of screenwriting, we are talking about the plot point and plot device, which is very common and which is very regular or familiar term who are practicing screenwriting or who are cultivating with cinema. So we are talking about a building inside that which is called a funeral parlor, and which is giving us a kind of intrigue what kind of activity is going on, and we have already discussed that. So my point is that if we are introspecting this film in this manner, like setting the world at the primary level of cinema, we are coming across this building as a kind of a foreshadowing, we may say, like this funeral parlor can give that kind of essence towards which direction the film is traveling to, towards hell or towards heaven, or we may say, like in this manner, how the characters, the protagonist, to whom we are generally heading towards to meet, in which direction their life will go further. So we have already discussed, like the both the characters, like Jerry and Joe, played by Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis respectively, where they will move. So I believe on the time when this film was made, like the end of 50s, most of the studio, the glorious and golden days of studio era is was coming to a declination, and at the same time, the five big production house of studio system, their golden era is also coming to an end. And on that note, Billy Wilder had already made that kind of film which became cult in the domain of film noir. Like we can talk about the film Sunset Boulevard, we can talk about the film Double Indemnity, all those films already being made, and how a director in just begins the film with that setting, which is very common to film noir, which is very common to any kind of spine chilling thriller, and how he's heading towards a definite or difficult direction. So right after 5 6 minutes, we are realizing both the characters in a crisis, but that in a very satirical manner. So eventually, they come across that kind of massacre or assassination in a public place, and eventually they become the witness. Now, how their life will be, it will be changed forever, or this kind of experiencing this assassination will haunt them forever. We will be intrigued. So just before initiating this discussion, we are talking about a little bit of things related to new era of content, like micro dramas, like sub OTT contents. So we generally experiencing the lack of attention or the span of attention. We are generally not intending to have it in a greater manner. So generally we can consider our attention span nowadays becomes like 2 3 minutes and all. But these films and this kind of introduction or setting the world or exposition gives us that kind of feel like we have to watch this film. So I am not considering any film buff or cinephile or film enthusiast. So being a cinema lover, being a regular cinema watcher, I believe this kind of slow burn process with the intrigue can give any film watcher who is here to have a bigger entertainment or engrossed with the film, have eventually that premise can give this kind of flavor to have this film in their soul to pursue with, to pursue further. So when these characters is like trying to escape from the reality in Chicago in 29, we are talking about, because on that time we all know that a chapter is going on. The context of the film was, we all know that is a prohibition period is going on in Chicago, in USA. So between 1920 to 1933, and this assassination happened in 1929 this Saint Valentine's infamous assassination. So how this character will survive? The film begins with this journey. So we are familiar with the structurization of act, structurization of screenplay, and we may consider it as the act one, that is the exposition. So it is the brilliance of a filmmaker or a director of a screenwriter, I personally believe, to involve the audience at the very basic point of cinema, while the film begins its journey with establishing the protagonist in a very subtle manner. So, and when the film moved forwards towards like the uprising action, we experience that both the character basically traveling for their survival, and eventually they are coming across, or they are going to cross a number of phases because of their survival, because they have to survive, there is no other way. So they just start, we already know, we already watch, like they start to find the new job and finally lands upon that area like where they have to perform with a girl brand, and there is no other way without just taking this option, and they are boarding towards a train. So I believe this Act 1 is constructed in that manner, so as we are very much definite, or we are very much sure about the character. The character will travel a long path, but in a very difficult way. And then the train journey begins with the introduction of Marilyn Monroe, the character, which we all know the name is Sugar Cane, and the introduction is in a very different and dynamic manner while they are boarding the train from the station towards Florida to perform with this band. So this is my first phase I want to share with all of you, and summarizing all the points. The film, made in late 50s, begins with a journey, kind of a gangster film, but that is taking a direction of a slapstick comedy, or taking a direction of a buddy film in a subtle manner. Nobody can presume what will happen, but they must be involved. There is a certain force. So, in fact, there is a certain measure to involve the audience in this journey. So, audience must be involved with the phase, with the character, and with the situation to journey together along with the protagonist. So, this is all about my discussion regarding the initial phase of the film. So, I would like to know your perspective, or your any thought related to the beginning of the film. Then I can move forward to the next. So, do you have any other thoughts, or do you have any question regarding that, or do you have any different opinion? I just want to know. You can share if you have.
Tanmoy, it would be better if you complete your presentation and then we can open it up for discussion.
Okay. So then
Thank
I'm
you.
just moving forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about, so now we are entering into we're talking about the chapters 2, characters and casting, and we already discussed the major characters. So we have already talking about, we have talked about the character of Sugar, which is played by Marilyn Monroe, and we're talking about the introduction of the character. We already established Joe and Jerry here, both the characters who are traveling and who are boarding this train along with Sugar. So I believe this phase, while both the characters, both the protagonists, they are boarding this train and they're going to a new direction of their life, as well as physically they are traveling to a different location. It is the liminal phase. It is the transitory phase, and we can consider it a journey towards a new era, towards a new beginning, or towards a new dimension of their life, which is going to be introduced, which is now unexplored, and audience should just involve themselves into this journey. And while they just boarded the train, there are definite activities we all experienced in this film, like the rehearsing of the songs, and the we are this is a very debatable thing. Still, I am saying that the objectification starts, like we all are used to use this term in the criticism of film, like the objectification, male gaze, and all these things. Both the Joe and Jerry, while in disguise as a girl character like Josephine and Daphne, they are being looked from the perspective of a bandmaster in a very different way. Like a male gaze has been utilized to introspect them, as well as they are being treated in a different manner. Still, there is a doubt, but the male gaze is very much strong. Billy Wilder is being criticized for that as well. We will come to it later, but we will just notice definitely while again rewatch the film that the perspective, while they in disguise and while they change their originality of a character in a subtle manner in terms of activity, in terms of business, in terms of physical appearance, this the perspective of the surrounded people uh, absolutely change, and they are considering themselves as a different manner, and they are experiencing a new life or new kind of ambience inside the train. We all watch this film and we all know there is a party scene inside the train, and the involvement or the friendship begins with Sugar with both the characters Joe and Jerry, and both of them like inclined to the character played by Marilyn Monroe, and there is a hidden competition who will win the heart of Sugar, and the journey just coming to an end while they are reaching the point Florida to perform. So I believe this phase, which we just discussed, is a very transitory phase. And as a screenwriter, I believe it is very specific and it is a very well devised plot, well devised area where a screenwriter consciously used a device and an object, the train, as a transitory phase or as a plot device, which was very uncommon on that phase. So generally, to keep a hook or to keep the hook intact, the contemporary filmmakers of Billy Wilder, like I'm talking about Hitchcock, they generally utilized a little bit of different kind of element, putting a time bomb, putting a clock on. Fred Zinnemann also did the same, giving some cliffhanger. But here, this transitory phase and this kind of liminal phase is as a definite object, and it is also serving the purpose of a plot device, I believe personally. And where and when they are landed at Florida to perform further and to perform with the band, multiple activities simultaneously started going on. So here we are experiencing this mode of film, like the individuality of character explores at its fullest. So first of all, we have the three protagonists. Specifically, we can consider Sugar, played by Marilyn Monroe, as the hero, quote unquote, and both the characters like Joe and Jerry, they are also the associated in as the in the basic plot as the one of the main protagonists. All of the three are basically playing the roles of protagonists now, and now the interaction between them transit in that phase where the new subplot starts to generate organically. There is no pressure, there is no force, there is no additional reinforcement of some plot points, plot devices, or subplots to go forward with the film. So it starts generating organically, and while the performance just going on, we would start to experience how the musical elements become a part of their dialogues. Eventually, during the performance, it is very uncommon to integrate music as a storytelling tool. So sometimes we experience all most of the hit films, most of the cult films, that sometimes a strong BGM plays a crucial role. Sometimes a specific song, montage of this song gives a particular definite dimension of a film. But while the musical journey begins in full swing, it becomes a part of the storytelling and replace the dialogues, because all the interaction happening during the performances, it is like progressing the story in a definite manner. The new form of relationship starts to explode, starts to begin, and again then there is a need to change the identity of Josephine to win the character played by Marilyn Monroe, the Sugar. So this the changing dimension of a character is not static. It is all the time. It flows like a river. It's a very dynamic, situation wise, geography wise. It changes. It changes for a particular purpose, and it is not only changing the character itself. It is all about influencing the associate and surrounding characters to tell the story, to move forward the story in a particular direction. And as much as the story progress, I believe, and multiple just fragments of the interrelationship begins, we start to experience that nobody is here villain, nobody is here antagonist, nobody is, now we cannot consider them as a protagonist. All the characters eventually forming a group, and they're experiencing a journey, and they are complementing the story to complete its purpose and to complete its dimension. And while the film is approaching towards the end, we experience that what we just discussed about the objectification of women, we are talking about male gaze. It is not like putting in a very conscious manner, or it is not like the misogynistic approach was used to fulfill a particular purpose. It all about the dimension or features of a character. So the character itself belongs to these certain attributes. That's why it was being incorporated inside the character. It is not like that it is very detrimental in nature, or it all the characteristic features just employed to give a specific dimension to a character. Situationally, accidentally or incidentally, or as per the demand of storytelling, eventually the character behaves in this manner. Because when the film is coming to an end, we all realize the film ends with a dialogue that nobody is perfect. And while the character Osgood is confessing his love towards Jerry, he's saying like nobody is perfect. So it is not like that all the time. The character portrayed in that manner, he has a male gaze and he was objectifying the women. It's not like that. He is in love as well. And another chapter who is also parallelly going with the phase, like the character of Sugar and like the character of Josephine, their relationship. It is not about only the materialistic achievement of Josephine. It is not about only the status of Josephine. It is all about the development of pure, I can say, absolute love from the end of Sugar as well. So, what I am trying to summarize and brief in this manner with this discussion, like the character played by Marilyn Monroe, since we most of the films were acted by Marilyn Monroe, there is a tradition we all know that most of the time she was portrayed in that manner, like she's a sex symbol, nothing else, and beauty without brain. And she has a blonde hair only. She talks some rubbish and all these things. And most interestingly, I want to share a trivia regarding this point, which Billy Wilder once shared during an interview. Most of the times while the film was shot, Marilyn Monroe eventually came at the set very late, and but still he allowed to play the character by Marilyn because of the reason she has that capacity of ethnic vulgarity, or we may say the elitist vulgarity. So the combination, this phrase actually reflects on the screen. It is not about only celebrating her for her physical attributes or beauty. It is all about integrating all his physical attributes with her behavioral aspect, I believe, which is the mastery of a screenwriter like I.L. Diamond and Billy Wilder, I must say. And while considering the dialogues, as we are talking about that, including the musical part inside the dialogues and consider it or forming it or including it as a part of conversation, it's a very difficult thing, because most of the time there is a tendency of any dialogue driven film, there is a tendency of a verbose sentiment, while most of the times people are talking and discussing, and there would be a less importance on visual. But here I found personally that the integrity of musical essence is the ability of a good screenwriter. So basically, this is the story, and basically this is the narrative structure I am trying to decode. But and I also decode that, but not restricted into this manner. I just want to say one thing more precisely while talking about the screenplay as well. Most of the time, how the location is being integrated with the character activities. It may be the beach scene, it may be the pub scene, it may be the hotel scenes. It is also the brilliance of a screenwriter, which nowadays is very rare, because we can include a number of locations or zones in a film, but this kind of unavoidable integration is very difficult and rare to find, I must say. So this is the brilliance of a screenwriter from the perspective of a screenwriter, I can say. So now I am just going to the next thing which I want to share as well. Uh, that is the visual style and cinematography, which is very unique in nature in this film. Definitely, everybody observed that. I already discussed that Billy Wilder has done film like which is very integral part of film noir, and which is a very famous film like Double Indemnity, and I am just talking about Sunset Boulevard. So we all know in film noir there is a tendency or style statement of any cinematographer or director to go for a chiaroscuro lighting with a high contrast, with a definite close up, with a particular process of taking a close-up, or with a static movement, much or more concentrating on the reactionary approach of a character. Billy Wilder started this film with that journey while this chasing is going on. But eventually, when the film progresses, I observe that the camera work starts to follow the movement of the characters, and eventually the camera is being a participatory element inside the characters. It is not like observing the characters from distance, or it is not like observing the character over the top. Yeah, you can say. Are you asking anything? May I continue?
Please continue. Please continue.
Yeah. What I'm saying, like, most of the time in film noir, the camera is being considered as a third person. So it is all about observing a cinema over the top, or it is observing the cinema from distance. But here the camera eventually becomes a participatory character, because it is like putting the camera inside the happening most of the time. It may be the yuck scene, it may be the scene of a hotel room, it may be the scene of inside the train. So this changing approach of cinematography is being possible only by a director who is an auteur himself, who can change their style as per the demand of the content, or as in order to complement the narrative. Because initially it was decided to shoot this film in a color mode, with Technicolor, and eventually the decision was postponed. And the Charles Lang, the cinematographer of this film, he also wanted to shoot it in color because of multiple layers and palettes and all. But and Marilyn Monroe, while in contract with the studio, she was also in that contract with the certain criteria, like every film she would act in, that will be shot in color. But this time the decision, they changed the decision. They attempted this film to shoot in black and white, to shoot in grayscale, because Billy Wilder believed on the time, like, to make it to approach it in a realistic manner, to give it a basically make believe feeling of the characters Joe and Jerry while they are in disguise like a girl. That should be in black and white. Otherwise, it would appear very clumsy or very amateurish. So this kind of grayscale works beautifully, because while we are portraying the characters of the real girl, like the inborn beauty of Sugar, and simultaneously the activity is going on by the boys in disguise as girls, there's a certain difference in terms of look, in terms of feeling, in terms of beauty. And while they attempted this film in a black and white manner, it worked. So this is also a pioneer decision in late 50s to attempt this film while the color chapter begin, to shoot it in a black and white manner, and the language of camera as well. So in this context, I also want to add a certain matter as well, like, which is not included in the content list as well. I just want to share, like, we while we watching the film, we there definitely is a sequence we all encountered, like both the romantic activity, romance going on parallel, in parallel cut or in a cross cutting manner. That is the character played by Tony Curtis and Madeline Monroe. They are romancing inside a yacht, and at the same time, same thing is happening inside the hotel room by Osgood, and as well as the character played by Jack Lemmon. So both the scenes are parallelly going on. So most of the filmmakers, while editing these two scenes parallelly, they may opt the option for going up, just intercutting the scene in a normal manner to tell the story parallelly. But here there is a influence in editing to give it a musical feel, or a flawless transition, utilizing a pan. It's a left to right pan or right to left pan, and it was very flawless. We have to think in that manner today, in the domain, in the arena of software based editing. It's a non-linear editing setup. We can do it flawlessly, very easily. But back in 1959, it was very difficult to produce this effect without any kind of that kind of developed editing system. It was edited on Moviewala. It was very difficult to cut it frame by frame to match the motion, I believe. But this kind of swiss span and transition gives that kind of feeling to us, an impact that it is very seamless. The transition is very seamless. So add the relationship. So here the technicalities merges with the aesthetics. So we all aware of the apparatus theory we are generally talking about while discussing a film or analyzing a film under the through the lens of the apparatus theory. So here the brilliance of a director who can handle both the aesthetics and technicalities in such a manner. So his perception is that kind of perfect, and his brilliance in handling both the things is so seamless. He could be able to introduce this kind of transition in this film. So I personally believe this is a path breaking method was followed on that time while coming to technicalities. And I want to also introduce a particular factor related to cinematography and editing, which the Billy Wilder used on that time, like uh, like the usage of wide angle lens. Because while the beach scene was shot and we are experiencing this scene, I just before a few days I read an article particularly where Billy Wilder described all the time he tried to give a layered backdrop, because the film is itself layered content wise. So he tried to shoot the outdoor scene with multiple layers like foregrounding, midground, background, the multiple things. So he used wide angle lens very consciously, and the composition, the characters placement, and the element placement. It's just it is one of the best. I mean to say it's one of the best mise en scene we have ever come across, I believe. So it is the brilliance of a director again to set or to stage a scene in outdoor and to give the film which is complementing the narrative as well, I believe. And while we observe this scene, the first introduction right after the look change of Josephine, while he's like the Shell Oil Junior, and he was trying to impress Sugar, and on that time he was reading a paper. So the camera just placed in front of him while blocking him with a newspaper. So it is like creating a mystery or giving a mysterious feel, so as from the perspective of Sugar the character can be reinvented, can be revealed, because the character's look is a very new. So and we all know we have already experienced this scene in the train journey, which kind of boy Sugar was looking for, and which kind of boy she liked. So this kind of motif conclusion is almost like completing a circle visually and metaphorically as well. So I also believe this completing the circle of motif is not so easy. It's not so easy. And we while coming to motif, integrating with the cinematography, we can talk about a much more incidents which we experience in this film, like the bass guitar, which eventually during the time of assassination, it had eventually a number of holes, and they noticed the gangster. And while they again found both the boys, Joe and Jerry, in Florida, they again match with their flashback sequence of the past. Like there were a number of holes in the bass guitar, and that was the motive through which they were being able to identify those are the boys. So it is repeatedly used and not restricted in this manner as well. We definitely can remember while Joe and Jerry trying to escape from a funeral parlor, they just try to just fix a ladder and coming rooftop directly to the ground, and same thing repeatedly happen while they are trying to escape again from the hotel in Florida. So this activity oriented motif and shooting it in the same style, placing the camera in the same axis, and utilizing the same lens, I believe it is almost about the completion of the motif, which is very rare. We can initiate a journey of a motif, we can introduce a motif, but the completion, it is needed the brilliance of a director. That's why he is an auteur. So that's why he is Billy Wilder, I believe. So now I'm coming to the next point. So we have already discussed music as a narrative device, but here we are going to this chapter 8 directly, the gender and cross dressing. So we have already discussed the mise-en-scene of the film, but we are yet to discuss the integration of costume. We definitely notice that both the characters, Joe and Jerry, while they are transforming their identity in terms of gender, wearing the clothes as per the demand, as per the need, their attributes, their movements, their physicality, they're trying to change. There is a term called transvestism. It is also used in these films. See, this transvestism or transvest fetishism, it is like that process. We all know that while we are wearing the opposite gender costume, it is all about feeling like he's him or her, or it is like experiencing the joy, or what I can say, that like sexual enjoyment of the same character. So it also happened in this film while Daphne told once to Joe, and I mean to say Josephine, on that time, like it was started, I am a girl, I am a girl, I am a girl, and now she started like, no, you are not more a girl, so you are a boy. So she is getting into the trance right after doing the same business, right after wearing the same costume, right after performing with Osgood in the hotel room. So this kind of transvestism putting in the film in a very subtle way, it's a very difficult, because it's a play on the very difficult ground. It might appear in a different way, it might appear vulgar, but this kind of balancing both the gender identity, I believe personally, it needs that kind of skill, it needs that kind of attitude to balance both the character in different, portraying in a different gender. So it needs that kind of brilliance and that kind of control over the actors, and over the portraying the characters with its best without hampering the narrative. The character contributes their dynamic attitude to the main course of narrative, which I can believe. So it is also a brilliant point I encountered while rewatching this film, and which is very rare and uncommon. Most in later, right after 1960s, 70s, a lot more films made based on this, the form of disguise, changing the gender attributes wise, costume wise, and all these. But this was the initiation, and I believe this was time ahead on the time, late in 1959. So and what I can say regarding the transformation of the character, we have already talked about, like the boy to girl, again for Josephine to come back to the boy, the shade of the character while coming back and forth from one dimension to another, from one entity to another. It is not like overlapping each other, it is not like just losing some characteristic features, placing the proper elements into the proper box while transforming the character, not only in wording, not only in attributes. It is all about putting the same performance to make this character believable. It is the brilliance of a director to handle their actors in this manner, which I want to say. And now I'm coming to this misogyny debate, which we initially talked about. So we are definitely, we all know that Billy Wilder, from the end of some critics, he was criticized putting this objectivity and male gaze. And like it is all about like celebrating Marilyn Monroe in terms of sexuality only, and her urge, her sexual gratification, her tendency and tenacity to grab a millionaire. It is a one-dimensional or one way of portraying the character. Basically, there is no points related to aesthetics, related to brain, related to the psyche of a character. But he personally discards all the element while staging the last scene, while all the four characters, they are on that yoke and they are traveling to some infinite direction, and they are talking about like their relationship, they're talking about love, and the final dialogue that nobody is perfect. I believe on that time he just discards all this so-called misogynist approach, or this kind of over usage of male gaze, which is very common on that time in Hollywood films. I personally believe so. Balancing, doing one thing and justifying it, and balancing the same thing, which we already discussed in some other aspect as well. It needs that kind of brilliance as well. I personally believe, and we're coming to the next point as well. That is. that is the reception and impact. We all know that this film is basically on that time did the best at box office, because we just started this discussion with a very common point in terms of film business. It's one of the highest grossing films, which created a buzz among the audience. It is not only for the specific category or niche audience. It's a must film. It's a very engrossing film, and we must admit, to analyze a film, to engross, to involve into the film, or to critique a film, it needs some kind of attention, which this film can create. Any level of film enthusiast, the first time watcher, it can immediately draws the attention. The immediacy is there. What I am trying to say, and we all know this. The cinematographer Charles Lang also was nominated for the Academy Award for this particular film, or the style statement of this cinematography. So comprising all the elements in that form, we can talk in a single line. The film is a combination of various elements, which is beyond to categorize this film in a particular box, which is beyond to target the director in a manner that he used this lens to objectify the women. It is beyond that he used all the tropes to come all the actors, or to give that kind of feel to attain or to address all type of audiences. It is not like that. There is a conscious attempt. Definitely, there is a conscious attempt to combine all these elements, but they cooked in a very well manner, and it is very like perfectly baked thing, which can draw the attention of any kind of viewer right after so many years. So what I can say, and more or less, I want to conclude this first round of discussion with this thing, that any kind of film, 7 years each or whatever Marilyn Monroe did, I personally believe, since it is almost his one of the third last films before she died, it is her best performance organically, and putting her all beauty, I mean to say physical attributes or elements of beauty, in such a subtle manner inside a film, in the trope of this character, that she proved herself as an actor at its best. What she can do in a film, we just it is very impossible to replicate, or to reinvent this kind of character anymore. Only she can did it. What I can say. So this is the primary take on this film. I observed and I watched. So that's all I can say, and I am looking forward to interaction now and next round of discussion.
Thank you so much, sir. So we can now open up the discussion. Anyone wants to say something? Geeta ma'am, Nikhila ma'am, you can start.
Can I come in, Shiyuli?
Definitely, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shiyuli. Thank you so much, Tanmoy, for giving us an introduction through the lens of screenwriting and other technical aspects of this film. What stood out for me, of course, was the very experience of watching the film. It was really funny, but most importantly, it was the queer subtext of the film that struck me the most. And see, as a comedy, of course, it works around the theme of mistaken identities, which is a very old theme going all the way back to Shakespearean comedies. But and also, what is interesting is like this film was made at a time when the Hays Code was very much, present in Hollywood at that time. So Wilder had to, subvert that code through the comic mode, and he couldn't have, made a more direct film on a queer subject. So comedy became a kind of a strategic choice for Wilder. That was something interesting. And this queer subtext is not just restricted to Monroe and Josephine, but also Joe and Jerry themselves, when they are in
This guy.
drag, that constant bickering and which is, it almost makes them look like a married couple, that verbal sparring and all that they indulge in. So, and even that wonderful train scene, there is so much of physical intimacy and all that is happening. The straight audience, of course, would read it as a comedy in seeing, a man surrounded by all these women. But a queer reading would make you notice that kind of friendship amongst the women, and then the sharing and the mischief, they are drinking during
Party.
prohibition times. So that kind of female bonding that is happening there becomes very obvious to the queer audience. So these are some of the very interesting parts of the film, and also the way Wilder uses the persona of Monroe to suit the theme of the film, because I don't think he's endorsing that dumb blonde image. Rather, he plays along with it, because there are scenes in which Marilyn Monroe herself is saying, I'm dumb, I don't understand these things easily, and all of that. But actually, if we like scratch that surface, then I think she's quite self-aware. She discusses her own vulnerabilities in show business, then her financial insecurities. When she's sharing all this with Josephine on the train, she's definitely, like aware of her own insecurities. So she's not as dumb as one would, like stereotypically imagine her to be. And even in real life,
I'm just interrupting you, ma'am, once.
yeah,
Just one.
sure, sure, please, please.
I was just talking about the critic, mainly from Europe, specifically from France. I just read an article on the time, like beginning of 60s. They criticize Wilder in this manner. What you were talking about, that there's a conscious attempt, but we all know it is not a conscious attempt. It is all about portraying the characters in this trope, and they're sticking to the reality. So why the character played by Marilyn Monroe is doing all this? So there is a purpose. What you were talking about, like her background, her insecurity, both in financial and existential. So that's why it is not a definite element the Wilder intended to incorporate in that manner. Yeah, that's
No,
perfect.
no, I'm not saying that it was intentional, but for those who are watching it during that time, especially, these are things that could be picked up easily by the audience, because it was part of her persona.
Right.
So, like Wilder draws on that. And also I thought that yeah, and Monroe was also known to have a lot of friendships with openly gay photographers and artists. And and she kind of aligned herself with the marginalized. For instance, that famous thing about how she supported the jazz singer Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, Ella Fitzgerald, of course, was already famous by the time Monroe started acting, but being black, she could not, like break into the elite clubs of Hollywood. She was restricted to the smaller black dominated clubs. And it was Monroe who actually got her, I mean, like, made sure that she performed at this very elite club, a Macombo club, for a week, and she promised the owner that she would actually go and sit in the very first row every night of Fitzgerald's program. So these are things that the audiences knew at that time. And so then it became easy for Wilder to use Monroe in order to put forth this queer subtext, because her persona was already one that aligned with the marginalized in society, whether it was, the racially marginalized or whatever. These are just some of the things. But thank you so much for suggesting this film. It was an absolutely delightful watch, and at the same time, also gave us a lot to think about. Thank you.
So moving forward, anyone else want to ask something or add on to what we have already discussed?
Can I come in?
Definitely, Ananya.
Okay, thank you so much, Tanmoy, sir, for joining us and taking out your precious time to be with us here. My question will arise from that moment, from that particular second of the movie, wherein we see in the train or the bus where the band is traveling. We see Sugar climbing up to the compartment where one of the males is, and then they end up sharing. That just begins with a word of thanks, and then that extends in a way into a necessity for company, and then into an entire community. But what I kind of noticed during that moment, only in hindsight, was that all the females, they just gather together, and then that kind of becomes a complete picture of chaos, which we kind of see throughout the movie. They're running and running, throughout, and so I like, so it's like some kind of if we can connect any theory of chaos, eventually we do have some sort of a like comedic ending, wherein there is some sort of a happy ending for one of the males and not necessarily for the other. So do you have any way to suggest, or do you think that you can speak or elaborate on this element of chaos in the movie?
See, I believe it's a kind of celebration, giving a feel to like the all the characters. They are basically close to each other, and all of a sudden, both the characters, Joe and Jerry, they were strangers, kind of. And when they boarded the train, so the initial conversation started primarily with Sugar, and when Sugar just be there to just give the thanks for that incident related to wine bottle and all. So on that time, all of them gather, I believe personally, to celebrate the feeling of a companionship, and it cannot be possible without this kind of chaos and celebration, because I again believe it's extension of musicals. So I believe all the chaos, though not in harmony, it is all about the celebration and all about the extension of musicals. They are going to perform, they are going to cheer, they are going to give that kind of feel of festivity and celebration to the audience. So I personally, as a screenwriter, believe that there should be that kind of foreshadowing or hint in the previous incidents or this kind of scenes, like that something will happen that will be very cheerful. So I believe personally, Wilder consciously took this decision to make this chaos happen, not in a very synchronized manner, because this team is taking a ship with the stranger, and all the way when they're traveling to Florida, that will eventually will take a shape. But it started initially with this kind of chaos, with this kind of happiness thing. It's a running here and there, and all the compartment is like they are in a I mean to say in a ruckus. So it is all because of the team is getting. First of all, it is taking a particular shape. They are going to be the friend, and they are the association is going to be like they are forming this group to perform there. Means again, I am just specifying the particular point. It is all about the initiation of this musical journey. Though not in harmony, they will be synchronized all together to perform. So that's why I believe when this chaos and all these things happen, Billy Wilder put this particular activity like this pulling the chain, like that should be stopped because they are also approaching towards the culmination, towards the land they're heading to, and they will start the performance. So now all the indisciplines done. Now it is the hard time, or it is the high time to take in order or going to the way of very disciplined manner. And that's why I believe the involvement of sometimes the band master as well as the band manager was there. So I believe it is extension of musical, and it's the process of synchronizing a team from a cluttered state. So this is my take on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That does help me a lot. Thank you so much again.
Well,
Okay, so now I want to ask something.
yeah, sure.
In the poster, we have seen that the name of Marilyn Monroe was highlighted much more than the characters of Joe and Jerry. I mean, Tony Curtis and the other character. But I don't think it was very common in that time, or even in today's era. We generally see that the name of the male leads are highlighted in the posters, but this is something different and unique according to me. And also, just few minutes back, you said that Marilyn Monroe was the hero of this story. But as we are following the story from the beginning, we have been following the two characters, Joe and Jerry. Then why do you think, and why did you just say that Marilyn Monroe, the character Sugar Cane, is the hero of the story?
See, from two perspectives, a story can be told. From the absolute perspective of a director, which I was talking about, like you are watching everything from a distance or over the top. But while the camera is doing the function of a participatory element or being one of the characters, like the actors or like the characters who are doing something or just doing some activity on the screen, I believe actually the reinforcement of Sugar the particular from the particular point she is just getting into the film from the particular point of this introduction the film take a particular shape, and it is like the beginning of new era of journey. Again, I'm coming to that. It is all about like the musical one. See, when both the character Joe and Jerry, they were traveling, they're just trying to figure out something for their survival all. They're the lace of musical elements. And when the director is introducing the character Sugar, he's like a movement, his attributes, he's like traveling towards a particular direction. It's all about like including some rhythm and pace. And while the characters is being introduced and being included in the main structure of the narrative, the story take a particular shape. It is all about the musical. Since just complete the circle and draw, or just think it in this manner, connecting all the dots like the introduction of the character, the first interaction in the washroom, and then like a drinking party, and then like the chaos, and then he's just trying to take a particular shape. So she is the catalyst here, from where the team is being integrated. So the team, the entire band, they are performing for a long time, but both of them are strangers. The director just trying to include them in the major storytelling device along with all the characters presided over primarily in the train through the catalyst played by Marilyn Monroe, that is Sugar. Otherwise, they would be considered as a different fragment, and the entire chunk would be the different one. So she just did the integration of the thing, and right after the story takes a different turn. So I believe that's why she's like it is all about like Fata poster Nikla hero. It is all about like she's representing the entire film. So just watch me, and she's the driving force of the film. In which direction, and if we are consciously rewatching that, again she's the driving force. She's controlling all the interrelationship things, because she's asking also Daphne also to have to go for a relationship, and she's like sharing everything in her personal life within while Joey is disguised as Josephine. So this kind of thing is being controlled by her. Again, what ma'am says, I missed the point, like that what she was talking about the queer study. I also want to add something which we primarily discussed once upon a time. That is like it is also an extension of film noir. Though not in direct term, she's a femme fatale. She can control the luck and future and fortune of boys or men. not in a direct term, but there is a certain influences of film noir because she's handling the entire relationship chapter and their future as well. And final decision she is taking, not the particular man is which is inclined to her. So that's why I believe she's the controlling force, centrifugal energy. More precisely, that's why she's the protagonist. And we all know nowadays poster is not most of the films poster are, is not in that state like representing the film in full swing, but this poster particularly reflects all the elements of a film which is going to be told on screen. So that's why I believe the she is the hero of this film, no one else.
I got it. Thank you. So now we can move forward. Others like Krishna Priya, Tarkeshwar Sir, Madhurima, Madhvi, do you want to add on something?
Shivli, can I come in?
Oh, absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, Tanmoy, thank you very much. We've had many different perspectives shared on TFO for particular films, but rarely screenplay writers. So thanks for bringing in that view. But it was also a little bit intriguing for me that you chose this film over Sunset Boulevard. Because if you ask me, I mean, there's such a solid plot in Sunset Boulevard. And as you were, replying to Shivli, it came home to me that what you find in this film is like a carnivalesque mood, but very little of a plot. I mean, it's hardly there. It's nothing convinces you, not their love story, not the reason as to why these men have to cross dress, because everything is kind of tongue in cheek. Don't take me seriously is what the film seems to be telling us. So that's the mood of the entire film. So in a way, it's futile to look for a strong plot, a narrative that is tightly woven. I don't know. I don't think any of that is there. But that doesn't make it any less of a compelling film. So I'm not seeing these absences as lacks, as much as how it still manages to hold your attention through the sheer riot that happens on the screen. And of course, the captivating, I mean, the gaze that Marilyn Monroe invites the male gaze, even from female spectators who, kind of, take in that male gaze. I mean, she's so much, whenever she appears on the screen, and this is especially so during that Florida segment, where we see her in so many different ways, drawing attention to her earlier and even later, innings as a model, as a nude subject, and so on. So there is so much of that I felt that comes into this film as well. The way it is inviting us. So the plot seems to be just an excuse for so many other things. Of course, Marilyn Monroe is the spot of attention, but I think for very different reasons, not as a kind of driving force of the plot, but more as a way of drawing the gaze. I mean, we get quite fixated on her. And also, the film does not satisfy you by showing her all the time. These two goofy fellows are all the time the ones, trying to distract us. So I thought the experience of watching the film was quite Bollywoodish, I would think. Yeah, thank you.
Rightly said, ma'am. I just want to add one thing. It is all about, we all know the concept of Russian formalism. It is all about, it is a fabule and Suzette. It is not about the story. It is all about how we are telling the story. The story is being told. So here it is all about the loose plot, just twisting or intertwining the plots altogether. Singly, individually, it is weak, rather weaker. But while the fragment is being stitched, it's very interesting. That's why it appears to me very interesting. It's all about the telling the story. We all know what will happen in future, what will be the ultimatum of those characters. More or less, we can guess. But I believe how the story is being told. We all are aware of basic love story, the final formula of telling a love story, which is very proven fact. But it is all about how the cooking is being going on, putting all the ingredients, but in a different manner. It is I what I all can say. That's all.
Madhavi, do you want to say something?
Yes, yes. Um, See, I really enjoyed Tanmay, your analysis and bringing together all these things in this movie. But while watching that film, I was struck by how this cross dressing is placed both for humor and as a narrative strategy. And I'm really curious to know. To what extent do you think that Wilder is reinforcing stereotypes, and to what extent is he actually challenging, rigid gender norms of 1950s America, especially given the restrictions of the, Geeta was mentioning Hays Code during that time. Um, and also one thing I noticed is how the film doesn't stay within the boundaries of single genre. It moves between gangster film, romantic comedy, and even musical. So I like to know, how does this blending of genres allow Wilder to push boundaries and make sharper social commentary, especially around sexuality and class?
See, I believe the concept of subversion was already in his mind. Otherwise, this attempt cannot be done because you are talking about a Hays Code that was so strict on that time. We all know it was a very difficult to make this kind of film. But what I found, Wilder again was very fond of experimenting with multiple genres. Not in this film only. His diversified filmography proves that. But luckily or fortunately, most of the experiments I personally believe happened in this film and probably the yes in the whole as well. That's why we are not being able to define this film with a single category, single tagline, single genre. You are talking about more or less musical, gangster, screwball comedy, sitcom, or you can say dark comedy. We can say. Personally, I also believe it's a buddy film as well because 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 the association because of the approach of I mean to say a combination of different relationship sometimes give ultimate the feeling of a friendship bonding. So I personally believe it is also a buddy film, and we may consider it as a travelogue as well because I like you I also initially awestruck watching the film first time how a filmmaker can use a physical object as a transitory phase. It's very uncommon because we can use flight, train, bus, anything, but itself the train plays a character. So that's why I believe it was a very conscious decision to put all the elements actually to tell multiple stories in a single platform. That's why he developed that kind of characters and extended his setting. I mean to say from Chicago to Florida, because in on during that time in Hollywood studio-based film, most of the time we see.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else want to ask anything?
May I please?
Yes, Divya. Carry on.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for such a wonderful recommendation. I watched this movie for like the first time, and I went in blindly. As Tanmoy sir rightly pointed it, that when I first watched the initial sequence of the chase sequence, which has I think nearly more than 20 cuts, it actually came across as a gangster movie to me. But then the story slowly unfolds, and you realize, okay, it's a comedy and it has so much to offer. About the male gaze that everybody has mentioned, I think the male gaze was actually portrayed very well. But one significant scene that actually stood out to me was when they were, boarding the train, and Jack Lemon's character uh, uh, expresses his discomfort in the women's clothes and says, "I feel naked. I feel everybody is staring at me." That spoke, I think, the most to me, because it says so much that yeah, male gaze women obviously experience that, but when a male who is dressed as a drag, he is also experiencing it, it feels a little bit more new, given that time period it was made in. And I completely agree with Geeta ma'am that yes, it definitely felt like a proto queer sequencing of that movie, especially that line that nobody is perfect. That's it. I think I really loved the movie, and I don't have much to add, as people have already had. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was a wonderful recommendation. Thank you so much.
On your I just want to add one thing right after listening to you. That is, you definitely notice one situation happened, which I also mentioned earlier, that Jerry, when she is playing the role of Daphne on the time, so right after the performance in the hotel room with Osgood, he also started to believe, right after repeatedly saying to her, saying to himself, like, I'm a girl, I'm a girl, I'm a girl. So he started believing in that nature as well, that he's a girl. So
Yes,
I also
exactly.
I, I also little bit of like embarrassed, like how this process happens. Then I just start to believe, sticking to some particular features of property. And when you are developing something brick by brick, because we all know they are from a different background and belongings, they have that different thing. So they are like building a different building brick by brick. And they have to believe in all this, otherwise they will not be able to survive or to be in the group. And that will lead to, like, again to be in a different chapter, and they have to like start in future. So this is very interesting for me, for the survival strategy in a very severe comic manner, in the approach or in the mode, in the trope of a dark comedy. This is very, I like, claustrophobic as well, that I have to think of a different entity of mine, which was not me, which is a new me. So this entire conversion, this entire changeover inside the heart, inside the psyche, at the same, this is very comical approach wise on screen, but this is very cynical in nature, as per the psychological turbulence which is going on inside the head, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely agree with it, because when the characters start to feel the discomfort of that particular male gaze, and also the discomfort that females go through day in and day out, and that it is being portrayed through a male character, it was actually a new experience. It might have been a new experience for the people at the time. It is being experiment. It has been experimented these days, but for a film to do that well, specifically Billy Wilder taking that risk, I think that's commendable. People might criticize him for his approach, but uh, it might have been there might have been a better way to do it, but I don't think uh, it is any bad. It is actually very good to watch it, and just to enjoy the movie as it was portrayed.
Osgood, during the time of dance sequence, Osgood once said to Jerry, like, "Why you are leading this? So being a man, being a man, I will lead you." So then he was trying to adjust. So because of survival, each and every step that should be calculated. So in that said, if someone is living day by day, if I consider it as a very serious situation, like it's a fight between existence and non-existence, it is very difficult. So the portrayal we generally not discuss in this manner, the portrayal in this comical trope, and like addressing the societal problem at the same time, as well as personal existential crisis, I believe it's a very difficult thing. That's why it's a very cliche term, talking a film or tagging a film as a layered one. But it is absolutely a layered one, I believe, because all these layers we can vividly see if we are rewatching the film or just consciously concentrate on some specific scenes. That I believe.
Yeah, even I believe so. Thank you so much for your perspective.
Welcome.
Tarkeshwar sir, Sanjay sir, do you want to add on something? Krishna Priya, Muskan, Sridhar sir, anyone?
Can I come in one more time?
Oh, Absolutely, Ananya.
Yes, thank you so much again. So my question this time has got a total of two parts. So the first question will be, the first question I'm prompted to ask the first question out of that particular seconds of the movie wherein we are at the beach with all the girls who have arrived just now, and they're just enjoying a time, probably a refreshment of their energy at the beach. And we see the character. I'm forgetful now which one of the two males. They have, for the first time, they have gone back to their male personality. They have stolen a particular attire of an officer there. And so they are at the beach as well, wherein they have a moment with Monroe. And then, that is the first time in the movie wherein I hear the male character say, quote the name of the movie, Some Like It Hot. I quote, and I am quote, I quote, Some Like It Hot. I am quote. So that will be, that's the only time in the movie where I come across the name. And then throughout the movie, for me, that seems more like a progressive chain of reactions that was just one particular event leading to another, and that just went on leading me to the end, which the movie is truly a work of great hilarity, and I enjoyed the movie from the first second to the very final line. So that is the first question. If you have anything to add, and if you can elucidate or try to explain why the name Some Like It Hot. And second question will have to do with the end of the movie, wherein we see the characters finally escaping. This end of the end of this movie also reminded me of other movies like Thelma and Louise, or Louis and Thelma. There's another movie wherein we see two characters, again, two female companions who are escaping a charge of murder. And then they just continue to escape, and they kind of, this is like some sort of a cliffhanger that just leaves us with a lot of questions unanswered. So the question of the charge that they might, if the two males really escaped, the goons or not, even though they were killed, but they had then fallen into the trap of yet another mischief, yet another act of criminal offense, wherein they saw the murder, yet another murder. So that was like, them being dragged into one type of dark area after the other. But then the comedy kind of, I want to know if the comedy was serving that element of just enjoying the necessity to enjoy the struggle, because life is just going to be an endless struggle. This is never really going to meet a finish line. So the only way to do is continue to be in this moment of escape. So if you can explain the end of the movie as well, if there could have been a different one, or if you have any structural analysis of the movie pertaining to the end.
I have both the answers from the perspective of a screenwriter. While you were talking about the title of this film, like hot, from where the hotness comes. The factor is that the premise of the film, primarily, where in the time where the when the film was set primarily, that was prohibition period. So eventually, on the time, the selling, consumption of alcohol was banned. So eventually, the political scenario, socio-political dynamics, a little bit of hot. At the same time, both the characters in their mid 20s, they are on the way to towards an infinite journey. The world they have to explore. They don't know exactly where they are moving ahead, and their life is a little bit of reckless. They are not decided enough what to do. Only the point they know, like they have to achieve something to sustain, to survive. So when they arrive at the railway station and board the train, again we are discussing about the harmony and non-harmony. The ruckus begins, and it is like all most of the time you are talking about the escapism. Most of the time it is like high and low, high and low. It is all about the ruckus and restlessness. So and when they just land on the beach area of Florida, Miami. So on that time, the happening around there, and like daily to daily performances, the gangsters conferences. It is not a very normal, or it is not a very mundane life. All the time, it is like a sinusoidal curve, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. So I personally believe, as a screenwriter, that this kind of friction from the certainty and uncertainty generates heat, and eventually it produces this hotness. So it is not about only the physicality of Marilyn Monroe and how she is like in a conversation with anyone. It is all about the premise, be it sociopolitical, be it situational, be it in the new land with the activities going around there. So all the time they are running. Only there is no point of they are not stagnant. There is no point to stop. They are only running, escape from one problem and entering into the other problem. And your last question, your second question, is also related with this journey. So when they become a little, right after doing so many things and this restlessness, they are exhausted, they are tired, and when they finally deduce the plan to go ahead and to flow and with the yacht, and somehow they managed. So on that time they are also trying to get settled. That's why both of them started confessing. While the one end is closely ended, one let me to say one relationship is closely ended. They are heading towards a new relationship with. I am talking about Joe and Sugar. Second one is very poetic. I believe as a great screenwriter, Wilder had done a wonderful job just keeping this open end or open loop for the audience, because you can deduce, because again the case study comes, you can deduce a new relationship, you can form a new relationship which can be a part of study of LGBTQ, or this kind of poetic feeling to the same sex can lead to a poetic journey. It's all the time, it should not be the physical. There is no mandate, or there is no certain condition. Most of the time it has to be physical. Definitely there should be some mental connection as well. This association between Osgood and Jerry can travel along with this kind of association. We don't know what may happen in future. It may be it may take a turn towards the poetic end, towards the materialistic end, towards the critical angle as well. So one is close ended and one is open ended. So I believe, again I am talking, I have talked already about the balancing the characters and the activity. Again the concept of balancing comes here from the perspective of a screenwriter. It is all about balancing both the parallel structure of narrative in the same line. One is closely just sealed and approved, and while one is not, it is towards the audience. They can deduce their own result, whatever they like to see, like to watch, like to write of their own.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking all this time to answer my questions.
Well,
Hi, Shirley, can I ask a question?
Definitely.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I couldn't hear you because I lost my connection, I guess. Okay. Can I ask without switching on my camera if you don't mind, sir?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, great. I just wanted to say first that while watching the movie, I thought that it was very related to Shakespeare's plays. Like you can relate the fact of mistaken identities and cross dressing and
Comedy of
gender.
errors and all.
Yeah, exactly. And Twelfth Night, I guess. Uh, Also, I would like to ask that how would you interpret as a like in the modern sense, how would you interpret this movie if you don't go back to the exact time when it was done or portrayed or played, however we could say that, but what if this generation is watching this movie, how would you like to portray it?
See, if Billy Wilder is making this film in present time, honestly speaking, not only me, most of the viewers would not be able to relate to the things, because this concept of disguise, camouflage, I believe personally, in today's context, if this film is being made in the current time, would not work, because I mean to say, there is no need to take this camouflage. There is no purpose to take this disguise to take fit, if you want to fit into a particular group of opposite sex, you don't need that in that time. So I am also all the time considering this film as a classic. Here I oppose the entire concept of eternality of this film, because in today's time, which I mean to say, a lot of contents globally we exposed to generally. We are being exposed to daily basis. So most of the audience, be film literate or film illiterate, would not be able to relate to this film if the character, both the characters like Joe and Jerry, travels in this manner or include in this film in this manner. But this film can be interpreted, can be adapted, can be shot in a different manner, including the character with this kind of opposite sex inclination in a different manner. That can be a again a queer film. But I personally believe that a disguise concept camouflage would not work in this time.
Yeah, I guess that was a very valid answer, but I would have actually thought that people would have liked this kind of concept because, like in Shakespeare's time, it was not very common for females to dress up like males or something like that. But nowadays it is. So I thought
It's
that
a very
people might.
common thing. I mean to say that the mixing with the opposite gender is a very common. We are now in 2025. So this would not resist anyone to kind of a free mixing or performing together or traveling to a long distance. This is a time of situationship. So I don't believe this would work in this manner. The adaptation can be done in a different style, keeping the basic content intact, but the approach should not be done. Again, the story can be told, but not in this manner. So I'm just trying to convey this.
All right. Thank you so much for answering this.
I think someone raised their hand. Can you just unmute yourself?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we
It's
can.
Fabi. You can hear me?
Yeah, properly.
Yes, good. Because I'm connected from France. So thank you for this discussion. It's quite interesting for me to see how in India the film is seen and perceived. In my point of view, in my view, this film is maybe the icon of what I dislike most in cinema. So I really dislike this film. The film was issued in 1959, the year of my birth, and it has imposed. So 1959 is cinema is not an old art in 1959, and in 1959 it has imposed a model of a blonde actress that is still acting now in Europe and in Hollywood with Brigitte Bardot, Nicole Kidman, and all these actresses imposing a man gaze and a model of femininity that I totally dislike. And for many film theorists, this film is emblematic of a male gaze in the way that the body is filmed, that the body is framed, and for all these reasons, I dislike completely this film.
Yeah, I completely agreed with that. Previously, I said also most
I
of the
react as a blonde filmmaker. Myself, I'm blonde. So I hate the way the blonde are put like stupid. You know, in France, when you say to someone she's a blonde, it means she's stupid. And it comes from all this Hollywood and the history of cinema, the way they use the blonde females in films. And it became like a caricature. A blonde is a stupid Marilyn, and Marilyn Monroe was very intelligent, but she played and she was used. She was abused as a stupid blonde, and I think The poor Marilyn Monroe was abused all her life. She was abused in her childhood, and the way people looked at her in the movie was another symbolic abuse. And that's why really I dislike this film.
Again, I agreed with you with some points definitely because most of the critics on the time from Europe as well criticized this film for this particular reason, and while it unveils the under the lens of this theory and semiotics, considering semiotics, the concept of signifier and signified, what you are talking about is correctly said. It's not all the time like you are portraying a character and just telling like beauty without brain or something like that. It's again, though it's very debatable one, most of the film critics on the time also criticize that. I completely agreed with that. So definitely I have a greater respect for the perception you are bringing in. I agreed with your perception as well, and I primarily said also the most of the critics from Europe criticize that for the particular reason, whatever the film, the craft is, whatever the film is talking about, and whatever the premise is, or whatever the craft of screenwriting as well. So thank you for sharing as well. It's a free discussion platform, I believe, and this perception is also acceptable. That's true. That's true.
Thank you.
May I share something regarding the previous question?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I felt that uh, the filmmaker, that is Billy Wilder, actually tried to taunt the stereotype, because we can see that the character Sugar herself is repeatedly saying that, look, I'm blonde, I'm dumb, I'm so dumb. So I thought that it was a way of taunting the stereotype rather than stereotyping it itself. So my
Again,
perception of this.
I'm just interrupting once. Here the points of signifier and signified comes of semiotics. Like you are showing some potential or conventional signs and symbols. So how the individual perception is being happened, it is entirely on the person. So how you are interpreting that, it is all about the signified, its connotation and denotation. So the connotation may appear through the forms of symbols and signs at the same level. But how it is being interpreted, I personally believe it's personal choice and personal sense of belief as well. So definitely both the perspective on the same context are valid and equally vulnerable. More importantly, I believe. Yeah, you may continue, please. Sure.
That was the only thing that I thought that my perception was a bit different than that.
I have a question to you, just because most of the dimensions I have discussed, we re-discussed already, and we have a different kind of opinion as well. We just interacted on that. But I just want to know one thing, which I found most of the joinees couldn't discuss on the particular point. Like we are considering the film as a musical opera as well. So while considering the music as an integral part of this film, storytelling device, more importantly, so how much you believe like the integration of music both in BGM and the songs like performed by Marilyn Monroe, well choreographed, how it is contributing to the major narrative structure? Actually, it is forwarding the film, or or it is nothing but a synchronized orchestration or ornamentation. What is your take on it?
Personally, I would like to answer that first and then we can open it to others. Uh, I feel that the songs of, for example, the first song that we hear from Mary Monroe, the
I
song
wanna
that
be
is
loved by
I
you.
Want to Be Loved by You. So I think that was something that few times back we spoke about how that her character is elitist vulgarity. So I think there she portrayed how elite she is. The song is kind of seductive in nature, but still it is elite. So I think it was important to portray her character, to portray the situation where her character is coming from and what it is wanting or desiring. And the background score, I think, was really complementing the story wherever it was needed. And sometimes the funny sounds during the tensed moments, I think that made the situation a whole more ironical. So adding on to the more subtext of the story.
It is very much diegetic, right? It's very much
Hmm.
diegetic.
And others can answer that further if anyone has any other perception.
I think that music has contributed. The song you just mentioned, "I Want to Be Loved by You." I think that it was about first thing that she wanted to express her femininity of how you express your longing and desire to others in some way, and maybe her dreams of security and vulnerability. So it was somewhere a main characteristic to the film. As I mean, I was just that it always looked good on Marilyn Monroe, how she portrays these things, and she was the best suited character to actually describe how female femininity should be, not in a wrong sense or a vulgar sense, but in a very beautiful sense. So I think that was a very precisely a good idea to
Okay, in this context, I
make.
want to add the last song as well, right after her heartbreaking. I am true love. While that Joe is on the verge of leaving, and he's pretending he's giving a call from the earth, but just opposite to her room, sending the gifts and all flyers and the diamond bracelet and all. So I personally believe right after that there's a performance. I'm true love. So I on that time I started feeling like the originality, the psychological turbulence coming through, like she's crying through this performance, through this song. So what happened in generally most of the time, the background score or I'm talking about the non-diegetic element, they are basically being included in the film in multiple tracks to evoke the emotion of an audience. But here you cannot eliminate the sound effects as well as the BGM as well as the choreographed performance because it is so integrated to tell the story. I'm just trying to just convey that because all are the part of the film itself. It's not an individual fragment. So most of the time we generally consider BGM. The scene is not working. The performance is not well. The scene is very dull. Then add some background score to evoke the emotion, whatever it might be. So here I believe that it is very diegetic and organic in nature. Everything is happening inside the film world. So I'm just trying to. That's why I'm trying to tag it as a musical as well.
I've got one more question in mind if no one wants to ask.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that musical part of the film was a part of the survival, like performance was given as a part of survival for the males or even for the other characters, if you would like to think of?
Oh, you're talking about the tempo of the performance, the mood of the performance, and their individual psychological belonging at the same time. It is contradictory. You were trying to say that.
Kind of that I just exactly wanted to ask that somewhere or the other that performance was made to present survival of the characters or not? Do you think that it was something that made the characters survive throughout the film? As like we have something to make us survive the whole day, as the somewhere or the other, maybe they have that performance, a musical part in the film to make the characters go on through their survival.
Not all the time. It started with the survival strategy. They took the performance as a survival strategy, but continued as a celebration one. Since the film progresses, eventually, more or less, it is going to be the extension of celebration. While the bread and butter is being secured, we generally start to celebrate a life a little bit. So I believe the film, as the film progresses, initially the performance is all about the survival. From I can consider the rehearsing in the compartment of a train, and while the film is progressing, the mode or the coming performances, the ensuing performances are becoming the part of the kind of ritual, daily habit, activity, as well as celebration of life. So it is not all the time. It is all about they are talking about the survival strategy, survival process, or the daily to daily struggle through the performances.
Just like it's very similar to As We Like It, where sometimes the musical part, like performing seven stages of life, adds as a survival, but as a musical tribute to life, or somewhere
Absolutely.
kind of like that. Okay.
See,
Anyway,
when,
thanks.
when we are in distress, we generally tend to celebrate each and every achievement. Be it small, but we tend to celebrate that. So it is eventually increasing because the primary security already done. So right after that, when this kind of bread and butter is secured, the shelter is secured. It's a time to little bit of celebration. That's all.
Got it. Thank you so much.
So anyone else? Rasha, Yagnashri? Sridhar sir, Soumya, anyone else want to say something? I don't think we have any more question for
Okay.
today. So I think we can conclude our session as of now. So do you want to say something as a conclusion?
First of all, I want to give a huge thanks to you to invite me and all the governing body members of Talking Film Online, which I must say, there you people what you created. I have observed a few episodes and a few attended the guests as well who were talking about films before. So you made this platform for all, cinema for all. Cinema is not for a niche. Cinema should be celebrated in each and every aspect. So I personally believe, as a film educator, film student, film enthusiast, that like computer literacy, like basic literacy, cinema literacy should be done at each and every level. It is possible, and it can be started with this kind of initiative. So when it started, I just came to know during the period of lockdown. Definitely, it started with a few members. Now it's a celebrated platform, and I personally want to tell you one thing, that if you need any kind of further association help or to bring together a lot of activities, further happenings, further celebration at a greater scale, I am here. Because in this time, most of the time it happens like there is no dedicated platform, dedicated members to cultivate cinema at its best. People are like concentrating on like their phones or watching the OTTs and just start to forget the classics. But just a few minutes back, somebody said like when cinema 1959 it started taking a shape, particularly being an art form, because you all know it's a very new art form. So cinema has just crossed not a very much long time. So if we cultivate cinema from the very basic to today, so I believe personally the practice of watching cinema and realizing it, like literature, like music, like any other art form, would eventually enrich us, each and everyone. This kind of mutual interaction, keeping the respect to everybody, giving the importance to each and every perspective. uh, I mean to say, this is very rare and uncommon. Last thing I must say, keeping respect to just keeping respect and giving respect to everyone. Like in academia, generally what happens most of the time, it is all like somebody who is a keynote speaker, the vision or his or her activation or the take on the film or any the paper is being celebrated only. But this kind of mutual interaction demands a platform which can provide this kind of, I mean to say, symbiotic relationship where we can give, we can get. So this kind of bounce back, like bouncing ideas, like a jamming together is needed, and you people made it happen. So I would be there. I will do my best, and I will be looking forward to continue this association in future at my best. Thank you all.
Tanmoy, thank you very much. We will take you up soon on your offer and hope to see you in more discussions in the coming weeks as well. And this is to everyone. If you're not on the WhatsApp group or in the Facebook group on TFO, where we share the information regarding the films every week, please contact any one of us, Geeta, Shiuli, Ananya, any one of us from the team TFO. We'll be happy to add you, and we will be happy to have the community of TFO and film lovers grow. So thank you, Tanmoy. Over to you, Shiuli.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything, Geeta ma'am?
No. I'm just saying thank you to Tanmoy.
Thank you to you all.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we conclude today's session, I would like to thank everyone who joined today. Thanks to Geeta ma'am and Nikhila ma'am for creating this platform, and thanks to Tanmay sir for such a wonderful session today. And we are looking forward to have you in more of such sessions forward. So that's all for today. Goodbye, everyone, and let's see, we can join again next week. We have to.
Yeah. Good night. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a really nice session.
Yeah, you can stop recording.